My name's Victoire Chilufia. I'm not alone in the studios, but I'm joined by my fellow Don Bosco Vibes. So I'm so excited about today because due to the popular demand of our listeners, we had to bring back problem solving. So that is what we'll be looking at today. So we had a number of messages on our Facebook page where people requested to say we need to bring back the topic of problem solving.
Problem solving is action, is determining the cause of a problem, identifying and prioritizing, on dealing that problem, and also selecting alternatives for solution and implementing that same solution. So that is problem solving.
We have a lot of youth that are going through mental health, a lot of mental health issues. We have troubled youth, I would say. When it comes to the troubled youth, under self-development and problem solving, how are we handling the issue of suicide? Is where we should pick up a problem.
Problem solving is important because it brings about solutions to the problem you are going through. And I would say it brings about critical thinking as well. So in whatever situation you are in, you will be able to sit and brainstorm around that problem. You'll be able to think about alternatives, And when we look at it, there are problems that need agency, whereby you act on it there and then there are problems that need you to think and sit, come up with possible solutions, brainstorm, think outside the box. So it is important because it makes you analyze situations and come up with possible ways of dealing with such problems. And also it puts in a position where people look up to you. How does one becomes a mentor? How does one become a role model? It's because at some point they had to overcome something in life, and that thing they had to overcome was a problem that a lot of people were facing. Since a lot of people were facing that problem and then they went on and to overcome that problem, people now started looking up to them, and people would now go to them for solutions.
So the first important thing is you need to be focused on solving the problem, and then you need to clearly identify the problem. You define it, because if you don't know what the problem is, then you won't be able to solve it.
It can be brainstorming, you sit and observe the situation, from what you are doing, observing the problem or the situation, you are able to think of a possible solution, and you are able to identify where the problem is coming from, and when you identify the problem, now it comes a point where now you start defining what it is. You know where it's coming from, the root cause of the problem, and then you approach it and define it. Okay, this type of a problem is what we call this, and then from this I think I can come up with a solution. So that's where now solution generation comes up. And then when you are thinking of a solution, you don't only think of one solution, no, you think of a lot of approaches. What if I approach it in this way? What if I approach it this way? And then after you think of solution, now is where you now assess those possible solutions and just sit and observe as well and see how your solutions are working. And then if you see a problem with a certain solution, you change your approach on dealing with that problem. So I could say the steps can be the same as identifying what the problem is, you define the problem, and as well also when you identify a problem, you know where to research and you know what people you can go to and approach. I spoke of issues of role models. We have a lot of professionals in this world today. So if you have a problem, maybe a mental health problem, you can't go to somebody who's not specialized in that area. You are a footballer, you don't find motivation, you don't find strength to play your ball. You can't go to somebody who's not in that profession. So it gives you an idea on where to look. And then research is important when you are having problems. You know, it is important because you see a variety of ways in which people, you know, dealt with that problem. You know, most of these problems we are facing now, these are problems that have been there. You know, there's a problem of maybe unemployment. A lot of people were unemployed before. What did they do? You know, did they just go maybe on the streets, start drinking? You know, what did they do for them to find employment? I think as young people, these are the questions that we should be asking ourselves. Most young people are there in the streets, abusing alcohol, you know, abusing drugs, you know, engaging in themselves in all sorts of things, you know, because we are not asking the right questions. We are not researching in the right places. So it gives you time to research when you try to develop those problem skills. I think also decision making, you know, many a times that we sit and make decisions. The moment we wake up in the morning, we begin to make decisions, you know. So if we are developing these problem skills, problem solving skills, we'll be able to see from the decisions we've made previously.
I will talk about some of what they've mentioned in detail. So the first one would be an acronym, which is IDEAL. IDEAL being I, identify, D, define, E, explore, A, action, L, learn.
God cannot tempt you outside your capabilities. When we come to a position where we take care of problems as they are small, we are able to take care of the problems that come. If you are not able to take care of a problem, it means you've just let it grow big and explode, and it has escalated to a point where maybe you need extra forces for you to take care of that problem. But if you take care of the problem on time, you won't have a problem. Every problem has a solution. You know, if you can't find a solution, consult, outsource. We spoke of research. Just go to maybe people who have experience. You talk to them. They'll give you ideas on how you can, you know, overcome that problem.
So stay away from negative people. They have a problem for every solution. Remember that next week we'll be looking at self-confidence. So from solving problems, we believe to know that now you have all the confidence. So remember that you can also follow us on YouTube. So we encourage you to stick around and that you keep it Jesus on Radio Maria. Yes, anyways.